Jewelry and coin, all that glitters, bought and sold at 4009 Central Avenue, St. Pete. This holiday season, hunger is hitting harder than ever before. Government cuts and rising costs have left children, seniors, and families with nowhere else to turn. You can help the All Faiths Food Bank Thankful campaign now. Learn more at allfaithsfoodbank.org.
The DeSantis administration spent taxpayer money to fund campaigns against amendments in last year's election. That's according to a Tampa Bay Times and Miami Herald investigation that shows they siphoned more than $35 million in taxpayer money. The result, it affected 2 failed amendments on abortion rights and recreational marijuana. The money was supposed to be used for services that would have helped out everyday Floridians with things like health care, care for kids, and help with addiction. Is this a reasonable way to use this money? Call us up and weigh in. 813-755-6562. We've got this and more, plus your calls coming up on Florida Matters Live and Local. Stay tuned after these headlines.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. Prosecutors in Los Angeles say they're charging the son of slain Hollywood filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle with murder. Steve Futterman reports Nick Reiner is scheduled to appear in court at this hour.
We expected Nick Reiner to appear in court yesterday, but it was delayed since he had yet to be given medical clearance. Today, court officials will try again. The hearing is likely to be brief, with Reiner being formally told of the charges. He could also enter a plea. The 2 first-degree murder charges carry a maximum sentence of death, but the district attorney says he has not yet decided if he will seek the death penalty.
That's Steve Futterman reporting from Los Angeles. The manhunt continues for a suspect in the deadly mass shooting at Brown University. Officials say they're putting together a growing body of surveillance footage. They're hoping it will help them identify a person of interest. Ben Burke from Ocean State Media reports 2 people were killed in the shooting on Saturday and 9 others were injured.
Investigators are cobbling together footage from private surveillance systems, Ring doorbells, and Teslas in the neighborhood next to Brown's campus. When combined, investigators say this footage is creating a clearer picture of their suspect. A heavy-set person in dark clothing who carried a satchel and wore a winter hat and a surgical mask. Providence Police Chief Oscar Perez says he thinks even this limited footage could help someone recognize the person of interest.
You want to focus on the body movements, the way the person moved their arms, the body posture.
Perez says the suspect arrived in the neighborhood over 5 hours before the shooting. He and other investigators said they still have no information about a possible motive. For NPR News, I'm Ben Burke in Providence.
Warner Brothers is urging its shareholders to reject a $108 billion takeover bid from Paramount. Instead, the board is standing by an agreement struck with Netflix to acquire its Hollywood studios and its streaming service, HBO. NPR's David Folkenflik has been following the sale.
They're questioning whether that $108 billion is solid. The Ellisons took on, and Paramount took on, a lot of money from Middle Eastern funds to do this, many tens of billions of dollars, and they're questioning what they're calling the Ellison family's backstop. The Ellisons say, hey, look, we're good for it. We're putting $40 billion. It's part of our family trust, so you have it. And Warner Brothers is saying, we can't see into that trust. And it's also revocable, which means the terms of it are changeable. So we don't have insight into that trust.
NPR's David Folkenflik reporting. Stocks are trading lower on Wall Street at this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 126 points. The Nasdaq down 289. This is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Bayer. Bayer is dedicated to delivering breakthroughs that save lives and feed the world using the scientific process. Learn more at ScienceDelivers.com. This is NPR.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. East Tampa residents gathered at Fair Oaks Park on Monday to open a new recreation center. WUSF's Emma Brisk tells us what that means for the community.
The complex is at the heart of a $34 million project promoting health and wellness. Featuring indoor sports and a recording studio for young people to meeting rooms for seniors, officials say there is a spot for everyone here. Mayor Jane Castor says the value of this project extends beyond the numbers it costs to build.
This is just incredible to be able to bring this East Tampa dream to fruition. It really is an amazing facility that will pay dividends and bring value to this community for decades to come.
The complex is 5 times the size of the previous building, but just a small part of the project to upgrade Fair Oaks Park. Other planned renovations include a playground for all abilities, a children's splash pad, outdoor sports areas, and walking trails. Emma Brisk, WUSF 89.7 News.
The Miami-Dade College Board of Trustees wants to end a lawsuit that says it didn't give proper public notice before deciding to provide land for President Donald Trump's presidential library. Attorneys for the college filed documents earlier this week contending the lawsuit is now moot because the board met earlier this month and heard from dozens of people before deciding again to transfer the land for the library. The board voted in September to transfer almost 3 acres of land to the state with the intent that it would be used for the Trump Library. A resident sued, and a judge issued a temporary injunction to halt the transfer, prompting the board to appeal. Today is your last chance to catch the University of South Florida football team this season. The Bulls are heading across I-4 to Orlando to take on Old Dominion in the Cure Bowl. The game at Camping World Stadium kicks off at 5 p.m. and will be televised by ESPN. And yes, if you want to try to go, tickets are still available. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
I'm Nancy Guan, a reporter at WUSF. Like you, I'm busy, and I need help staying on top of what's going on. I depend on the Wake Up Call, the daily newsletter from WUSF. It starts your weekdays with a quick early glance at the important news happening in the Tampa Bay region and the world. You get quality reporting from WUSF and NPR journalists, and connections to local artists, events, and more. Sign up is easy. Just visit WUSF.org.
You're listening to Florida Matters, live and local broadcasting from the doctors Lorraine Rubis and Neil Frankel studio at WUSF in Tampa. I'm Sky LeBron, in for Matthew Petty. A new investigation from the Tampa Bay Times and Miami Herald shows that the DeSantis administration used taxpayer dollars to fund campaigns against amendments he opposed in last year's election. Maybe you remember that a Leon County grand jury is considering whether or not the administration diverted $10 million from a Medicaid settlement through a charity called Hope Florida. But it turns out the state used much more, $35 million of taxpayer money. That includes the money from Hope Florida. The taxpayer money was supposed to go to different things like helping kids in foster care and fighting opioid addiction. Instead, the investigation says it was used to, quote, influence the outcome of the election. In a fight against amendments, a majority of Floridians ultimately voted for. Amendments 3 and 4 would have legalized recreational marijuana and abortion rights, respectively. This is a very intricate story about the use of your tax dollars. So to break it down for us are the reporters who counted up the receipts. There's Alexandra Glorioso, a Times Herald Tallahassee bureau reporter, and Justin Garcia with the Tampa Bay Times. Thank you both for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I wanted to start with you, Alexandra. If you can, just tell me in a few words what you found out and what's at stake here.
Yeah, happy to. So we have been, as you just recounted, we've been reporting on this all year. And in our latest story, we discovered that the DeSantis administration spending on amendments 3 and 4 went beyond the $10 million that was diverted from the Medicaid settlement last year, and included $21.2 million of state agency spending through an intricate web of financial transactions.
Yeah, Justin, what was this taxpayer money initially allocated for? And can you tell me a little bit about where it ended up?
Yeah, so it was allocated mostly from healthcare funds and also for child welfare funds for children who needed protection in the foster care system. And most of it ended up going to ads, consultants, and the overall campaigns against Amendments 3 and 4 last year.
Is there any more specifics? Can you tell me a little bit about how is this helping children? How is this money supposed to help children? How is this money supposed to help people that were dealing with addiction? Can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, Alex, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so regarding child welfare, they diverted $1.1 million from a federal grant trust fund. And it's essentially supposed to help children stay in their homes, stay with their families, stay with their parents. It's part of the Department of Children and Families Family Safety and Preservation Services program. And most of the money in that fund goes to organizations that do just that. They help kids stay with their parents, they provide counseling and other programs that parents need in order to safely keep their kids at home. Regarding the other money that we found that $970,000 came from a community health program in the Department of Health. And this was from a grants and AIDS trust fund and the research, component of that trust fund. And other programs that were supposed to be funded from the fund include $185,000 for clinic to help children learn to feed and swallow, $500,000 on a Tampa Bay program aimed at reducing emergency room visits. We're not saying that they paid for that, for the campaign from that money that was supposed to go to those two programs, but it shows the administration's priorities. Lawmakers wanted to fund those programs from the same grants and AIDS fund in the community public health program, but the governor vetoed those programs and also paid, a vendor for the campaign out of that fund.
So, Justin, is this story as cut and dry as maybe it suggests? Would this be a clear violation of state law in that case?
Well, the experts we talked to and the lawmakers we spoke with were kind of mixed on that. The governor and the administration do have discretion on how they spend state funds, but several people saw it as bending procurement laws and also as kind of just morally and ethically bankrupt. And as far as the total amount of money goes, we make a note towards the end of the story that this is likely an undercount of the total amount that was spent. We were kind of conservative in our estimation because we didn't include contracts that looked like they could have gone to the campaign. And so the amount we estimated could be less than what the state actually spent in total.
So with the $35 million that was allocated, ultimately used for campaigns against Amendment 3 and 4, for the departments that the money was taken out of, does that mean they were losing out? Did they have to cut certain things? Ultimately, did it hurt these departments in a real way?
Well, I guess to be clear, we haven't got any kind of official response from any of these agencies. As Alex broke down, it did take funds that could have gone to these services for needy Floridians, including children. But we reached out several times to these agencies, and they didn't respond. Although after we've published the story, there have been some communications people from these agencies just kind of defending the behavior, not denying it at all, but defending it.
Speaking with Justin Garcia with the Tampa Bay Times and Alexandra Glorioso, a Times Herald Tallahassee bureau reporter. Alexandra, the governor's office maintains that its efforts were public service announcements meant to educate the public. So were you able to see any of these ads and maybe compare them to what could be a PSA versus something that was worthy of a campaign against something?
Yeah, so in our reporting, we discovered that they are not public service announcements because public service announcements are free. And these the campaign paid for these ads. That's why so much money was spent towards them. And really, the dividing line between what political ads were being aired at the time and these so-called public service announcements, which were aired in the weeks leading up to the election, and from the ads that we reviewed went quiet after the election, was that they didn't have a call to action in them. So there would be an ad defending Florida's 6-week abortion ban and attacking, ads from the pro-abortion rights group, but not saying explicitly vote no on Amendment 4. And that was really the distinction between what the DeSantis administration is calling the public service announcements and the political ads, is that they just didn't have the call to action. But they had all of the context. They were part of the ecosystem. They were participating in the election. And, it's a very kind of wild west for advertising. There's very few rules. So that's why it's difficult to discern whether they really broke the law. But experts that we talk to who do ad buying and are involved in political ad buying said that it looked to them like these so-called public service announcements were purchased to influence the outcome of an election.
It's also important to note that because they passed them off as public service announcements, they got 4-to-1 buying power, because that's how it works. So
meaning
they got 4 times the ads for one single purchase, because they were billed as public service announcements. But public service announcements are usually not anywhere tangentially political, right? Usually it's about like wearing your safety belt or stop speeding,
which you guys brought up
in
the article. You guys compared one to like a meningitis ad during like an outbreak. It was something along those lines of like health ads in those, or health public service announcements, not ads.
Yeah, kind of neutral announcements that serve the public.
And what you're sorry.
No, go ahead.
What you were referring to there, was an exemption that the agencies often cited in order to break this money loose fast. And that's a health services exemption in state law. And, it is used frequently by the government, but it's used to typically pay for things like doctors, vaccines, health screenings, and only one other time has the Department of Health used it for, quote, media placement and fulfillment, and that was to combat a meningitis outbreak in 2022. So these ads really stood apart, not only in their content, but in the way that they were procured.
We only got a couple seconds left. I do want to ask, though, this is important. Have you heard from anybody since your investigation came out? From the governor, from other politicians? I know you said you spoke to experts for the story, but since it's released, I know when big investigative reports come out like this, there's usually a response. What's it been like so far?
Yeah, there's been a lot of feedback, and politicians have been commenting on it publicly. However, we haven't heard anything from the governor or his administration, although I did point out earlier some communications people who work for these agencies have publicly been kind of just defending using that money for these campaigns. I don't know if Alex wants to weigh in on that as well.
We have just a couple seconds, Alexandra, if you had anything else to say.
The governor's administration has been pretty quiet, and so have both of the chambers. And that seems to largely be due to the grand jury trial that's going on right now. That's in Hope, Florida, our other reporting. And I think that most people are waiting for the results of that grand jury trial that's supposed to come out imminently.
We've been speaking to Alexandra Glorioso with the Times-Herald Tallahassee Bureau and Justin Garcia with the Tampa Bay Times. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Coming up, the Tampa Bay History Center just welcomed its new CEO this month. We're going to talk to her and hear her vision for the future of the center. You're listening to Florida Matters, live and local. More to come after this.
Support for WUSF comes from listeners like you and from Seitenbacher, with a new web shop, healthy muesli, cold-pressed oils, and vegetable broth mix delivered to your door from right here in Tampa Bay. Details at Seitenbacher.com, Seitenbacher, Seitenbacher.
This new year, give a fact for WUSF, because accurate reporting outlasts every holiday trend. Your $20 monthly gift helps WUSF deliver fact-based local news with clarity, depth, and independence. Make your gift today at WUSF.org. And thanks.
A teen civil rights activist from 1951 is honored with a statue at the U.S. Capitol. The incredible story of Barbara Johns, next time on Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Sky LeBron. The Tampa Bay History Center has a new CEO. Audrey Chapuis comes from Paris, France, where she was the executive director of the American Library of Paris. No biggie. It's just the largest English language lending library on the entire continent of Europe. Now she's in good old Tampa Bay, and she's here with us on Florida Matters, live and local. Audrey, thank you for stopping by.
I'm so happy to be here. I've been in Tampa for a little under a month,
Nice.
but I already feel at home.
Well, let's also hear from you. How did you discover the Tampa Bay History Center? Any cool exhibits stick out in your mind? Let us know about it. Call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email us. That's FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Audrey, first things first, have you done the most Tampa thing yet? Have you gotten a selfie with Phoebe the Flamingo at Tampa International?
Oh, no, I'm putting that on the list. I thought the most Tampa thing was to eat a Cuban sandwich, and I've had about 5 at the Columbia Cafe at the History Center.
Nice.
That's important.
You feel it in your bones slowly becoming more Tampanian as
Absolutely.
you do this.
I've given up the baguette to only Cuban sandwiches from here on out.
I wanted to ask, how did the Tampa Bay History Center end up on your radar from Paris, France?
Absolutely. Well, I knew of it from reputation, but it was the role itself that intrigued me. And, I must say my discovery of it, on terra firma it's exceeded all expectations. So it's a history center, meaning it's a repository of artifacts that tell the story of 12,000 years of Tampa Bay regional history, but it's more than that. It's a place to convene, a community center, really an anchor for cultural identity. So frankly, I came to Tampa and the History Center for the role.
So what about the Tampa Bay History Center is the strongest aspect in your eyes?
Well, there's so many, but I would say the community and how engaged they are. I think it was built by the community and it serves the community, and that has a very broad definition. It's for the region, but also as visitors come through, they should feel like they're part of our community as well. So we're telling the story of a region, but it's also our story now. How are we capturing those stories? How are we engaging with the communities that are thriving now? And that's very evident in our programs. And I think there might be some hesitation about visiting a history center if you're not into history.
Yeah.
But you very quickly realize, oh, this is just an engaging, fun afternoon. And there's something for everyone to discover, spark the senses and the imagination, pass a fun afternoon with your family. And that's, of course, thanks to the community that brings all of that to life.
I want to talk a little bit more about the History Center, but also a little bit more about you. What's been the biggest difference for you moving across the entire world?
Oh, my goodness. Well, honestly, I'm coming home. I'm from Austin, Texas. Originally, I spent many a summer on the Gulf Coast. So it's been, I would say, the softest landing that one could imagine coming back to the good old US of A. So Tampa is new to me, but I would say everybody has welcomed me with open arms. And between you and me and our listeners, the absence of French bureaucracy has been pretty wonderful. And the cultural and civic partners in Tampa Bay have just been extraordinary. From the mayor to the commissioners, all of those partners, we're all moving in the same direction, and that's all about Tampa's growth, how to attract more visitors, more business, how to activate our public spaces, and all of that is hugely motivating.
Obviously, it's a really indispensable resource, the Tampa Bay History Center. Tons of kids go there every single year. That's where a lot of them learn about the neighborhoods that they live in. What would you also like to see improve in the History Center? Are there any areas that you think need a little bit more attention?
So I'm definitely not here to fix anything because it's working so wonderfully well. I think it's about leveraging our strengths and our current partnerships. So one way is to do more outreach. So we are the Tampa Bay History Center. And so how do we activate partnerships throughout the region itself, making sure that people know that we are there for them and that we really belong to everyone. So that's one major component. We can do more with digital tools. The technology component, it's not for tech, for tech's sake. It's about increasing access and also meeting people where they are, literally physically getting people access to digital exhibits, but also facilitating access overall. So you can imagine an exhibit with a QR code that links to oral histories, but for different age groups, from the scholarly perspective, for the everyman's perspective. So there are a lot of digital tools that are coming down the pike that we can explore and leverage. And then I would say the final thing is just the perceptual challenge of making people understand that the History Center is about our current story, and that's everyone's story. So how can we get people to participate in the life of the center so that they understand that it's one of our major cultural anchors functioning now?
Speaking with Audrey Chapuis, the new CEO of the Tampa Bay History Center, I find it interesting that you just brought up trying to meet an audience where they're at. Everybody's trying to do that right now, especially with the attention span of many people just not being what it once was because we all have so much content immediately available to us. So how do you kind of leverage that into making it still an interesting place to go check out, maybe for people that have brains that work just quicker?
Oh, that is the central question. So I think museums and libraries, obviously my background there, in many ways they are the antidote to information overwhelm, which we're all just swimming in so much. And having these anchoring institutions where you can come in, have a place that is welcoming, inviting, accessible, and leaves room and space for reflection, contemplation, quiet connection, connecting with scholarly resources in an accessible way. I think it gives you a firm footing where many times we're just so inundated by information. So it's the experience itself of coming and participating in the museum on a regular basis, getting to know the museum staff, knowing that we're here for them. Even just coming is a good antidote.
We only have a couple seconds left, but you're learning more about just being a Tampa person. You've learned about Cuban sandwiches, but have you learned about the lore of Tampa Cuban sandwiches in Tampa versus in Miami and how much of a fight that is between people in Miami and Tampa?
Well, I highly recommend the book, The History of the Cuban Sandwich, which I'm currently listening to. So I don't know where I fall on the salami debate. I'm sorry. I don't have a definitive answer for you, but
there is a right one.
In due time.
I've been speaking with Audrey Chapuis. She's the new CEO of the Tampa Bay History Center. Audrey, it was so much fun talking to you, and good luck in your new role.
Thank you so much.
Keep it here on Florida Matters, live and local. When we get back, we've got a few of our favorite past episodes. Keep it here. You're listening to Florida Matters, live and local.
Garrison Keillor returns to the Billheimer Capitol Theater with Erica Rhodes for The Crazy Uncle and His Sensible Niece. Don't miss America's favorite storyteller on February 24th. You can get tickets now at rutheckerdhall.com.
On the next Fresh Air, President Trump has called her the most powerful woman in the world. Susie Wiles is the first female to serve as White House Chief of Staff. We'll talk with Vanity Fair writer Chris Whipple. He writes about the woman behind Trump 2.0 in the new issue. Join us.
Great conversation on Fresh Air tonight at 7 on WUSF.
I'm Tanya Mosley. If you collect classic cars and are thinking about making some room in your collection, please consider donating it. It's hassle-free and the proceeds will benefit this station. Think about it.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Sky LeBron, in for Matthew Petty. It's been a great year here at Florida Matters, live and local, even though I've only been a part of like 3 episodes myself. We thought we'd highlight a couple of our favorite episodes from the year with the show's main host, Matthew Petty. First, you'll hear about one of the cutest cafes in Tampa where you may find your next furry friend. Then it'll follow it with a conversation about everyone's favorite book genre. You know it's true. Come on. You know it's true. You know it's true. Romance. Let's roll it.
If you feel like there's something missing from your morning routine, WUSF's Lily Belcher has a story about a cafe where you can watch kittens rough and tumble as you sip your cappuccino.
When you walk into Sassy Cat Club Cafe in Brandon, you're greeted by over a dozen cats lounging on tables, sun-soaked cat trees, and couches. Other kittens bounce across the floor, play fighting and attacking toys. A customer sits on a couch playing with the kittens she's considering adopting. That's the goal of Nicole Duffy's Cafe, to help cats find a permanent family.
My hope is that you get a sense of peace and joy to come in and just relax with them.
The cafe looks like a living room, with couches angled towards a TV, which plays videos of lizards running across the screen for cats to swat at. Duffy was a veterinary technician for 30 years before cashing in her retirement savings to open Sassy Cat, but she's always loved animals. After spending all day with her cafe cats, she goes home to 2 of her own, a black one named Ricky and a tabby named Suki, and her 3 dogs. Duffy opened the cafe in 2023 and immediately partnered with a Kitten Place Rescue.
They're a fantastic organization, so wonderful to work with, so easy to work with. I love that they not only take such great care of their cats, but they also respect my medical background.
Michelle Bass is the co-founder of A Kitten Place. She says the partnership benefits both her rescue and Duffy's Cafe.
It's a labor of love for her, it's a business, but for us, it's perfect because we are able to feature our cats that are adoptable.
A Kitten Place is a volunteer-run nonprofit cat rescue that strives to fix the cat overpopulation issue and keep cats out of kill shelters. Prior to partnering with Sassy Cat, Bass says they struggled with adult adoptions. Those older cats would often get stuck in foster care.
So many adults get overlooked, and so a cafe is a perfect way to feature them in kind of a natural setting for them rather than a cage at a shelter.
Bass says getting cats adopted is especially important during kitten season, that baby cat boom which runs from early spring through late summer.
Now we have this huge influx of kittens, and we are really, really feeling it.
Like this kitty, playing with a noisy bird on a spring. Since the cafe opened 2 years ago, customers have come in, fallen in love with a cat, and adopted it through A Kitten Place, 268 times and counting. But sitting with a small gray cat in her lap, Duffy says it's not always easy to give them up.
The longer I'm here, the more I'm able to accept letting them go. They do bond, like Peyton here, who chooses me.
Come here being lazy. Being lazy.
The cafe gets anywhere from 10 to 50 customers a week, but Duffy only lets 12 guests in at one time so the cats don't get overwhelmed. Victoria Del Real stopped by looking for another pet to bring home.
Well, we're interested in getting another one because if you have one cat, you have to have 3.
It was her first visit to Sassy Cat Club Cafe.
It's nice. This place is very calm, cool, collected, and there's just so many different types of cats here. You get to see a lot of personalities.
And Duffy says even if you're not looking to adopt a cat, you should drop by.
If, you're having a bad day and you want to just get some kitten cuddle time, to just come in and watch them, it just is hopefully a relaxing atmosphere for you to enjoy.
Lily Belcher, WUSF 89.7 News.
Well, Lily Belcher is here to talk more about the Sassy Cat Club Cafe. Lily, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe a silly question, but are people going there for actual coffee as well?
So there is coffee there, yes. But, people are going there if they're interested in getting a cat. they go there, but also if they're not interested in getting a cat. And that's what I love about it. If you like cats, this is a place where you can go just to hang out with them. It's not just to get them adopted. And the really cool part about her business.
Mm-hmm. Nicole Duffy, the owner of the Cat Cafe, she's a former vet tech. What made her want to open this place?
You know, she's always loved animals, and she eventually got tired of being a vet tech, and she still wanted to be around animals. She still wanted to help animals. She partnered with a local cat rescue. It's called A Kitten Place, and they're a nonprofit cat rescue that gives these cats the opportunity to find a home in a unique way, instead of just going to a shelter and picking out one that's sitting around in a cage.
So is it like a day trip for the cats? Like, are they at night when the cafe closes, they go back to the shelter?
So all the cats who are in the cafe live there until they're adopted, and they sleep there overnight. Duffy comes in the morning to wake them up and say good morning and feed them, and she closes them up at night, and they live in this little cafe. And the ones that she does get from the rescue, depending on what animals they need. Sometimes there's an old cat who's really not doing well at the rescue. They're not getting adopted there. They're not seeing people as often. They give them to this cafe, and that cafe gives them a new home. You know, it's a little bit more comfortable, and it also gives them a new group of people to see.
Right, bit of a PR boost for the cat. How do they make sure that how do they know the cats aren't going to like fight with each other or get rambunctious?
They watch it, you know, they can see, and it's kind of trial and error. They can kind of see which cats are getting along. You know, cats will play fight, and they had this group of kittens come in, and they were just tumbling around on the floor play fighting. When I was there, I didn't see any that weren't getting along, and I'm sure that they know the personalities of the cats and the ones that they're having come in, and so they watch, and you know, if it's not working out, I'm sure that they deal with that depending on what they are seeing.
And were you able to chat with some of the customers? Like, did you get a sense of they're there to adopt, or they're there just to hang out because they like cats?
Yeah, I actually talked to one lady who was there just on her lunch break, and she was there because she likes cats, but they're thinking about adopting. And my favorite quote from her is that if you have one cat, you have to have three. And she's got her one cat, and so she's looking for that second and third. And so it was really great to see that, you know, it's something that she stopped in to do casually. She likes cats. She wanted to go there just on her lunch break. But also, maybe now she's considering getting one of them. And that was a really cool thing that you saw both sides of this cafe, is that they want to make this just something that you can stop by casually, but also it gives these cats a way to find a home.
Well, Lily Belcher with WUSF. You can find her reporting and see photos of the Sassy Cat Club Cafe on WUSF.org. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Melissa Saavedra is the owner of Steamy Lit, a romance bookstore with branches in Tampa and Deerfield Beach. She's also the founder of Steamy Lit Con, a romance book convention. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Also joined by Alicia Thompson, who is an author, and her romance novels include With Love from Cold World, The Art of Catching Feelings, Love in a Time of Serial Killers, and many others. Okay, Alicia, what is the response you get when you tell people that that's the genre you work in?
I think some people think of romance as being very kind of like cheesy or predictable, are words that I hear a lot. And my answer to that would be kind of that, I mean, any genre can be cheesy and any genre can be predictable. Like every book genre has those characteristics if you don't find the right book that's for you. So I always say that there's a romance out there for everybody. There's some romance that exactly hits whatever it is that you want it to hit.
Okay, so what makes a good romance novel then? Because there's a lot out there, right? It's a genre where there's people writing these things kind of every day. So how do you stand out? What makes a good one?
For me, a really good romance novel, it offers me a relationship that I can really root for and where I really feel like I know those people. Like I know those characters. I know why they care about each other. I'm very invested in their relationship together.
Melissa, what about you?
Yeah, I think romance is a good romance. It obviously is so subjective to who's reading it and what you're looking for. I'm also what people like to call a mood reader. So it just really depends on what mood I'm in and what will hit best at the time. But I think overall, I think just something that has Found family and things that are relatable in a sense, whether that's within the world or within the people in the book, and kind of how I can see myself in the book.
Alicia, I was reading that you submitted your first manuscript to Harlequin when you were 16. So you must have known pretty early on that this is what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing since I was a kid, and I've been reading romance, since kind of the same era, so all of my mom's Harlequin Presents novels that used to come in like a little subscription box every month. I used to just really look forward to those and read all of them. And so when I was in high school, I was like, I could do this. I could write a romance novel. Keep in mind, I had never dated anybody before. Like, I had no romantic experience myself, but I was like, I think I could figure this out. So yeah, I sent away several romance novels that never went anywhere, which, nobody is surprised by.
But you kept going.
I kept going, yeah.
Yeah, right. But then you started writing young adult fiction and then kind of made the switch to romance later.
Yeah, I've always read both young adult and adult. And so at the time I also, had this idea for a young adult novel, so I kind of switched and wrote one of those.
Melissa, when you opened your steamy lit South Florida bookstore last year, you followed pretty soon after that with the Tampa location. And just kind of looking at the way this got started, I was reading that the idea took off in 2020, right? So around the time of COVID. So just tell me about the genesis of what has become these brick and mortar bookstores and everything else that you've got going on in your romance empire.
Yeah, so when the pandemic hit, I was working full time as a travel coordinator. So I worked for a university in California where I coordinated all of their travel for all of their sports teams. And obviously, during that time, we were not doing any travel. So I found myself with a lot of time in my hands. I've always been a really big reader, but during the pandemic is when I really put my little claws in romance, and I couldn't stop. And that's kind of where the idea came up to create a subscription box because I was like, there's these great stories that we're not talking about. I also wanted to create another platform to amplify the work of authors that are part of marginalized identities. I wanted to create this subscription box where we talked about romance, we talked about sex and pleasure, and just kind of created this space that was safe for us to dive into. And as time progressed and I made a move from California to Florida, one of the first things that I noticed when I moved back home to South Florida was that there weren't many indie bookstores, which when I lived in California, there were so many in San Diego. There was one everywhere. And so I started kind of thinking maybe should I do this? I obviously knew the Rip Bodice existed at the time. Meet Cute Bookshop in San Diego had opened by then. Love Sweet Arrow in Chicago was open. So there was a few. And so I was like, there's clearly a want for this in different communities. So why not here in South Florida? Mm-hmm. And that's when I decided to open up Deerfield, and shortly after Tampa.
How does that feel as a writer, Alicia, in this genre, having that kind of readership? Because it sounds like they're pretty avid and they're going to be supportive of what you're putting out.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Mel on that. And, I was fortunate that I was able to go to the first Steamy Lit Con that she organized. And everybody was so blown away by how well organized it was, how well run it was. And that it really was championing especially diverse authors, and making sure that maybe BIPOC authors who are typically left out of the conversation are getting a moment, to have panels and to do signings and stuff like that. And that is something that I think is very unique to romance. And as a writer, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. I think a lot of writers are introverted by their nature. I definitely am. So sometimes it can be a little overwhelming to have that kind of avid
a horde of readers.
Yeah, I mean, and not even I'm not even talking about my specific readers, but just in general. Sometimes it feels a lot like it's this giant party, and sometimes you're like, I don't know that I have a giant party in me. But that being said, I just think it's so beautiful that it goes on, and that it's all these people connecting over books, over stories, and falling in love with these characters. I think that that's so cool.
We've been speaking with Melissa Saavedra, the owner of Steamy Lit, a romance bookstore with branches in Tampa and Deerfield Beach. She's also the founder of Steamy Lit Con, a romance book convention. Melissa, thank you so much for your insights. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And Alicia Thompson, author, whose romance novels include With Love from Cold World, The Art of Catching Feelings, Love in a Time of Serial Killers, and many others. Alicia, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And that was Florida Matters Live and Local's main host, Matthew Petty, from a conversation earlier this year. Don't you just miss his vocal cords? I'm Sky LeBron. I'm filling in for him for just a few days. Still to come, are you looking for ways to give back this holiday season and make some solid choices that really matter? Well, we've got some ideas for you. You're listening to Florida Matters Live and Local. More to come after this.
This is the season when philanthropy and financial planning come together. Community Foundation Tampa Bay helps you maximize your year-end charitable giving while making a lasting impact. Learn more at cftampabay.org.
I'm Robin Young. Our Here and Now staff continues its annual tradition of Best Holiday Thing. This year, Best Christmas Movies, and the debate is not for the faint of heart.
Bridget Jones's Diary,
Of
which
course.
to me is the only Christmas movie that should ever exist.
Oh, they bring it for Elf, It's a Wonderful Life, A Muppet Christmas Carol. Next time, Here and Now.
Join us this afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
You tune in to WUSF for all your favorite NPR shows. And for a list of when you can hear them, visit WUSF.org. While you're there, browse local features and special reports from the WUSF newsroom that take a deep dive into the issues that affect you, your family, and your neighbors here in the greater Tampa Bay region. WUSF is your spot for local, on air and online.
This is Dalia Colon from WUSF. From our family to yours, have a happy holiday season and a healthy new year.
Welcome back to Florida Matters, live and local. I'm Sky LeBron. 'Tis the season to spend way too much on presents, drink way too much coquito, and get into way too many arguments with family members who are never going to change their opinions. But more importantly, it's the season of giving back, especially to your community. How do you give this time of year? Do you volunteer or you donate to a certain group? Let us know why it's important to you. 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Or email us, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Today, we're meeting people from two groups in the greater Tampa Bay region that really make an impact. One you've likely heard of, the other may be new to you. Let's start with the Salvation Army's Angel Tree. The Salvation Army started this annual event in 1979 in Lynchburg, Virginia. Children in need wrote their Christmas wishes on angel-shaped cards, and they were hung on a tree in the middle of a mall. Shoppers snagged those cards and made their wishes come true. Are you an Angel Tree helper for the Salvation Army or other groups that have adopted this style of giving? Tell us about it. One more time, the number 813-755-6562 or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Right now, the Salvation Army Church on Sly Avenue in Tampa is in full throttle give mode. They've matched up with local kids and donors, and our producer, Amelie Horace, stopped by this morning and spoke with some volunteers handing out gift boxes to families. Debbie Alderson showed up bright and early.
Oh, I've worked my whole life and seeing people happy, seeing kids smile, just seeing the people being so grateful for everything that they have. It's just a wonderful feeling.
Jersey LeGrand says volunteering is her way to give back this holiday season.
It's just a wonderful feeling. It's just a feeling of giving back. You know, just we know that everything that we're doing is helping families and keeping the kids happy. So that's what I love.
Amelie also spoke with Major Mark A. Woodcock about the event. He's an ordained minister, and he works for the Salvation Army.
The Angel Tree program is where we take a needy child right here in our community and match them up with a donor. That donor gets that wish list from that child, and the donor goes shopping for the child and brings those gifts back to the Salvation Army. Then we organize those gifts and put those gifts in with family boxes. And on this day, the families are coming to pick up their gifts. Now, the wish list can be all kinds of things. First of all, new clothing, new toys, but also some very basic things like diapers, sheets, different types of bedding, comforters, car seats. So there's a lot of practical things that are being given to needy families in our community today because of the generosity of the people of this community.
That was Salvation Army Major Mark A. Woodcock speaking with WUSF's Amelie Horace at today's Angel Tree event in Tampa. So let's hear from you. Do you have any favorite holiday giving activity? Is it a family tradition for you? Call 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. Now, we want you to meet Casey Hess. He's with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, organizers of another local giving opportunity called the Light the World Giving Machine. Casey, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yeah, Sky, thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Of course. Tell us a little bit more about the giving machine. I've heard it's kind of like a vending machine, but in reverse.
Exactly. You got it. It's basically a vending machine, but instead of going to get something, you're going to give something. So it's one of my favorite things. So imagine walking up and instead of selecting what chips and drink you want, you're selecting what item to give to a local family in need, whether that be diapers, whether it be a backpack, whether it be, personal hygiene items, even a baby goat.
Oh. Can that fit in a vending machine?
It doesn't fit in the vending machine, but it's delivered directly to a family so that they can use it for a way to be entrepreneurs. They're taught how to raise the goats, how to breed the goats, how to use the milk and the cheese to make an income for their family.
Wow, talk about an interesting donation. Where can I find this organization's giving the machine? Where can I find it at?
Yeah, so it's sponsored by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and this year we have it out at the Clearwater Mall, which is on Gulf to Bay Boulevard, and it's located outside of the Crumble Cookies there.
Okay, cool. What's in so like you told me a couple of the items, but what's the breadth of what you can bring? I know people have a wide variety of what they can donate. Is there anything that maybe is off limits, or is there a basis of what you guys are trying to look for here?
There is a basis. So we've partnered or linked arms with 5 community organizations. So Casa Pinellas, Metropolitan Ministries, Premier Community Healthcare, the Shepherd Center of Tarpon Springs, and the Spring of Tampa Bay. So they have put their items in that machine. And then we have 2 global partners, Mentors International and Splash. So they have put their own items in the machine. And they like I said, school backpacks, new clothes. Metropolitan Ministries is doing a lot of food, a seasonal side, a festive feast. You can buy 40 holiday meals for families or Christmas gifts for kids. There's also, like I said, dental care, hygiene, and healthcare support kits. So it ranges, like I said, from goats to a simple dental kit. And you can purchase something as low as $5 in the vending machine all the way up to $200.
Wow.
So it's a wide swath of items that you can purchase. And you're not limited to one. You can select a few items, and it's really neat because it's like a vending machine. So you'll see the item you buy, move forward and then fall. So by the end of the night, you can see the bottom of that vending machine full and knowing that you are really lighting someone's life and giving back to those in need.
Well, what I noticed is that a lot of these items aren't like for a toy drive, like a new action figure or the biggest, latest toy. A lot of these things are necessities, things that people need. Was that intended with this?
Absolutely. We wanted to give back, especially here to our Tampa community. We worship, live, and work right here in Tampa, and we wanted to make sure that the 5 organizations that we linked arms with were going to give back directly here. The neat thing, too, is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints covers all operational costs of the machine. So every dollar that goes in actually makes it to our local charity. And like you said, it's items that families need, maybe not their wants, but needs to help our families that are in need here in our community.
How do you make sure that these are getting to these families? Is it through those partnerships with the charities?
Exactly. So we made sure, we interviewed and vetted our local partners, and these are all that we have worked with in the past. And we wanted to make sure that they were great organizations that were going to get these items directly to the family. So a lot of times when you donate to a charity, you don't know where it's going or what that dollar was used for. But this is really neat to bring your family to this machine, select what you want, and see it come and drop and know that will be delivered by one of these local organizations directly to a family in need.
It's interesting you say that because I think a lot of people kind of wrestle with that. Well, I want to donate, but I just don't know where this is going to end up. Is my money going to go as far, or my items going to go as far as I really want them to? Is that something that you come across often?
Absolutely. Yeah. People want to know, like, where is this dollar going? They're willing to donate. They're willing to help, but they want to make sure it's going to a proper cause.
I'm speaking with Casey Hess. He's with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, setting up the Light the World giving machine. How did this idea come together, and why specifically Clearwater?
Yeah, so the church launched an initiative about 10 years ago called Light the World, which is we can't change the world all at once, but individually, one-on-one, we can slowly share a little light. A year later, in 2017, this giving machine was introduced, first obviously out in Salt Lake City, but now it's in 126 cities across 21 countries.
Wow.
And so this is the very first time in Tampa Bay, which we're so excited, but we applied and showed that our community has a need. And so our community was granted a machine, and then we looked for a local area in a community that would allow us to place these machines there, and Crumble Cookies out there in Clearwater was gracious enough to allow us to put it out front.
The vetting process for picking a place, did you have to also visit where some of the other machines were set up to make sure, hey, we know that this is going to be an effective spot, this is going to reach the most audience?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have machines, like I said, all over the world in 126 cities. So they're pretty good at vetting and deciding where's good visibility and traffic so that we can get make the most impact here in the Tampa community.
What about people that say they may not trust charitable organizations because they worry about bad players? By the way, we've included some great tips for smart charitable giving in the story about today's show. You could find that at WUSF.org. But what would you say to people that are concerned about those types of things? Is it similar to what you said before?
Yeah, I would say definitely just look into the organization and vet them. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has a massive presence in global humanitarian aid. So to date, the giving machines have raised $50 million. And like I said, every cent goes directly to these organizations and to these families. So there's no operational costs. The church is absorbing any cost and offering all of the volunteer hours to make this happen. Now, like I said, 5 of these are local. They're in our community, Metropolitan Ministries, the Shepherd Center of Tarpon Springs. So hopefully our local neighbors and friends know them, and if not, they can get to know them and know that they are putting those dollars to good use.
I used to work I used to do some volunteer work for Big Brother, Big Sister.
Okay, yeah.
And it was incredible. It was one of the most impactful things I've ever done in my life for my community. But it was really interesting to see see kids that you tell them, hey, we're going to go do this. And they're like, wow, I've never done this before in my life. And it wasn't crazy things. It'd be like, hey, I want to go take you to get a chicken sandwich. And they'd be like, oh, I've never had a chicken sandwich from this specific restaurant before. I've never gone to a trampoline park before. I've never gone to the zoo before, even though it's right in my backyard. I guess it's just kind of eye-opening as well during these periods of time, during the holidays, to see what some of the community lacks and how important it is for organizations to step up in these times of need. I guess there's not really a question there, but it's kind of like
absolutely,
it's really eye-opening to see the work that's done.
Absolutely, and that's why it's important that we have these local charities, because they know what is the Tampa community lacking, what do our friends and neighbors need. And in reverse, that's why these giving machines are really fun, because I could just put a link online and you can donate. But this allows you then to I'm excited to take my kids, because at this time of year, we're all focused on the holiday party, Christmas, what presents we're buying, what am I getting, right? But taking your time to take your family to the machine and say, listen, we're going to sacrifice a few of our Christmas dollars for this, and they can watch this gift for this child or this food or this meal literally fall into this pile to be donated. So in reverse, it's so great to bring people to the machine and let them feel that spirit of giving like the Savior Jesus Christ taught us to do.
Last question for you, Casey. What's your Christmas wish?
Ooh.
Yeah, hits you. That's the hard hitter at the end.
That is a hard hitter. I think I just pretty much answer, like I said, I have 3 young children, and Christmas can get so busy, the commercialization of Christmas, right? We focus on everything, but really what it is lighting the world one by one. And so that my Christmas wish, especially this year, is we can get as many people out to these giving machines out at the Crumble Cookie in Clearwater so that they can experience, when you give, we're taught that when we give, we're only in the service of our God. And when we're serving God, we feel the joy and we feel blessed. So as we're giving and serving, I know that we'll be blessed. So it's my wish that people can have a little light of the true meaning of Christmas.
We've been speaking with Casey Hess with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're the organizers of the Light the World Giving Machine. Thank you so much, Casey.
Absolutely, Sky. Thank you.
That's our show for today. Coming up tomorrow, it's my last day before passing on the reins. We're looking into college degrees with the Trump administration no longer deeming certain ones professional. What does that mean for people going to work these specific careers? Find out tomorrow at noon. Our executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producer is Amelie Horace. Our engineer is Jackson Harp. He also composes the music. You're listening to Florida Matters Live and Local.
At WUSF, support comes from the people who listen, like you. Also, Brandon Business Machines. Brandon Business Machines is a locally owned and operated office equipment dealer and IT support company. They've been serving the Tampa Bay area for 44 years with copier and computer sales and service. Online at bbmusa.com.
A thrift store in Canada discovered that it might be selling ancient artifacts, so the management reached out to a local archaeologist.
I don't normally respond to these kind of emails. This one was intriguing to me, though, because it came from a thrift store, which is not something I've ever experienced in my career.
Now those old trinkets are the basis of a new college course. That's next time on The World.
You can hear The World at 3 o'clock after Here and Now, which is next. You're listening to WUSF 89.7 Tampa, winner of the 2025 Edward R. Murrow National Award for Overall Excellence. This is your spot for local.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
From NPR and WBUR Boston, I'm Indira Lakshmanan.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now. Coming up, a Democratic and a Republican strategist weigh in on White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles' shocking comments to Vanity Fair.
Also, a doctor performing computer-aided surgery realizes his love of video gaming improved his performance. Gaming could be a teaching tool for new surgeons.
Could playing video games help me in my educational program to get these surgeons up to speed?
And our Here Now staff continues its annual tradition of Best Holiday Thing, this year Best Christmas Movies, and the debate is not for the faint of heart.
Bridget Jones's Diary,
Of
which
course.
to me is the only Christmas movie that should ever exist.
But Elf, coming up Here and Now.